My name is Josh Gardner, and this is my presentation on inequality in sports media representation. Um, as we all know, male sports dominate the screen time when it comes to primetime sports in comparison to female sports. Um, However, the Olympic sports and Commonwealth Games, we see female sport representation grow significantly. However, it's still fewer than the male sports. Um, I have three sources here. Two of the sources focused on social media representation, so that's a little bit more of the broad community reaction and the Twitter pages for the each team's sporting social media, and the other is about the channel's broadcast team. So the media itself. Um, and some stuff that I found was that females were far more likely to be talked about in their roles outside of the sport than their male counterparts, often being referred to as mothers and girlfriends instead of simply being athletes like the males are. And I also found that the females were often called girls instead of women, far more than the males were called boys, of course, and men. Um, so that was very interesting. Of course, we know that inequality has existed in sports since the very beginning. However, progress has been made, but there is still a long ways to go from what we've found. I studied the New York Times for this assignment. I checked the top four articles on the sports page once a day for 7 days a week, and we found some interesting stuff here. Not only did I look for the amount of the articles with male sports compared to female sports, but I also looked at the length of the articles themselves, and then also the amount of photos that are in each article. And of course, what I found was out of the 7 days straight, out of the four main articles on the New York Times, three of those four were always male sports articles, and then 1/4 of those were the female sports article. As you can see in this pie chart here, it is largely predominated by the male sport articles than the female sport articles that you see here in yellow. So there's significantly more male sports articles. And then when we look at the length of the articles, this is actually very interesting that they're almost exactly the same that you can see in this bar graph. The average length of the male sports articles was about 27.17 paragraphs, and then the female articles were about 27 paragraphs, so pretty much exactly the same. And then next I checked the photos in each article, and the male sports averaged about 1.7 photos per article, whereas the female sports averaged about 2 photos per article. And so a little bit more here for the female sports. But of course, for both of these charts, we need to be aware that each are for the average per article. Of course, it would be a lot more if we just counted the amount of the male articles and the female articles and then did that. So don't let that be too misleading, but the average article itself is very similar in both of these. So of course, we've gone through all of this, all the results here. The conclusion is that the male sports have far more representation in the sports world, far more articles covering them, while the articles average the same length. The female sports articles average slightly more photos per article. The female sports articles had action shots as well as photos from the athletes outside of the field or off the court. Male sports were almost all in the context of the sport itself. However, they weren't all action shots. So that's interesting because there is far more photos of the women outside of playing their sport itself than there are of males. So, of course, that leads you to to think that the media is trying to show them in outside of their athlete identity, I suppose. So there's some interesting stuff I found. Thanks for listening and have a great day.